A little backstory. I'm a 20-year-old, short petite female working at Subway, and I can't help but be nice to anyone even if they creep me out. I feel bad usually. About a year ago, we had this guy 35 to 40 years old who would come in every day for lunch. He was fascinated by my stretched ears and few piercings I had on my face and always asked questions. He would sit down after I rang him out and watch me from his table for 2 hours nonstop just staring at me while I helped other customers. This goes on for about 2 weeks. Every day he would ask for my number saying he has plugs and tunnels he wants to give me and see me wearing them in my ears, and I always politely declined. One day, I'm alone in the store because my manager had to run to the bank. We were really slow that day, so I was just in the back room messing around on my phone. I heard the door chime, looked up, and yet no one was there. Then I saw the man walk past the front of the store really quickly, like he was in a hurry. The store phone rings. Me. Thanks for calling, Subway. How can I help you? Him. This is the girl with the nice ears, right? Me. Yes? Who is this? Him. Are you alone in the back room right now? Are you working by yourself? At this point, I really got creeped out and knew it was him. I hung up and texted my manager the situation so she would hurry back. He called again, this time asking me very weird questions, like what I would do with him in a room with the door locked, if I had a boyfriend, why I was playing hard to get, etc. My manager gets back, and I tell her everything. In the middle of the lunch rush, he calls again. This time my manager answers, and to this day she never told me what he said, but the look on her face made my spine shiver. She told him if he called again or showed up here, she would call the police. I thought that was the end of it, but alas, I was wrong. 1 week later, I'm clocking out and getting ready to walk to my car parked in the front, and when I look outside, I see him standing by my car and looking inside of it. I was an idiot and left the back door unlocked. I watched him crawl inside and shut the door. The creep was trying to hide in my F***king back seat and do God knows what to me when I got in. My manager locked the front door of our store and called the police. When they arrived, they had to pretty much drag him out of my car, and he was arrested. On him was a butcher knife, rope, and a rag with chloroform on it. If I hadn't looked up when I did, I would probably be dead right now. It was a nice autumn night and my family and I decided to have a campfire. We went outside after it was dark and we were roasting marshmallows and making s'mores while we sat around the campfire talking. The campfire was at the very edge of the woods by our playground, which was quite far from our house since we had a lot of acres. We had spent time outside at night before and everything was okay. But this night we spent a few hours outside and then suddenly we heard something in the woods. We heard leaves crunching and a stick break. We thought it was an animal, so we ignored it. We went back to talking, and then we heard it again. It sounded like it was getting closer and closer. The footsteps didn't sound like an animal, and instead it sounded like a human. Then we heard someone cough in the woods. My family and I all stood there in silence because we were freaked out. We shined our flashlights into the woods to see who or what was there. We saw a dark figure of a man hide behind a tree. They were watching us. We left everything outside and ran as fast as we could back to the house. Once we were inside our house, we locked all the doors and windows. My family and I thought that the person watching us this time was the same person as the one that was following my sister and I while we were hiking. We were all scared, and still to this day, I have no idea who that was watching us or what they would have done to us if we hadn't ran away. After this, we never had a campfire at night ever again, and instead we did it during the daytime. I met this guy through my local art community, and he mentioned via FB that he was looking for a nonprofit to become involved in. So I invited him to learn more about the one I was involved with. He proceeded to befriend the executive director, a friend of mine, and many of my other friends, and then used the friendships and NPO to gain access to me. He very quickly became homeless and started squatting in the offices of the NPO and sometimes my garage with his 8-year-old son. He used his friendship with me, as well as mine and my empathy, to get information from me, then would use that to get it from my friends, and would ultimately use it all to try to break up my marriage and friendships. I started to realize how creepy he was being when I started to see him drive past my house. He started professing his love to me and anyone else that would listen, wrote me creepy letters, obsessively contacted my friends, threatened suicide, and left me a bunch of Craigslist missed connections. He wouldn't listen to any of my back-off messages, and the NPO refused to kick him off the board. In the meantime, I was getting deeper and deeper into Buddhism and was preparing to take a set of important vows. He learned about the vows, looked them up, and learned that one of them essentially was to never turn away someone who came to Buddhism and asked for my help. So he joined my temple. I told him it made me uncomfortable, and he reminded me of my vows and told me he didn't care how it made me feel. That was when I told him that if I ever saw him at my home or temple again, I would get a restraining order, and I told him to never ever contact me again. He tried to convince everyone I was crazy and that he was really a Buddhist now, but I'd already warned the clergy at the temple. I had to block him from all social media, and we rotated board meetings. It's been 3 years and I still get chills when I see him around, accidentally. I genuinely think he was one of the most disturbed and creepy people I've ever met.